Hi everyone, this is Big Mama, and tonight I am going to show you a new journal that I have made for the Dear Julie design team, and this is the January 2024 design team. The kit that I am using is Julie's Sunflower Digital, and I have a few pages here because I went through a lot of it, and so I did not reprint it. So I'm going to show you some of the pages that I didn't use, and you'll get to see the ones I did. So you can see how beautiful the sunflowers are. She calls these sheets the side by side, so you can put them in a journal like this, and you've got 2 pages. And here is another page of the sunflower where it's got that frosted edge around it. Another kit that she has in her sunflower collection is called the Sunflower Postcards. And so I used a lot of the postcards in my journal. And what I did was I copied it to my Word program and enlarged this. And so it's going to be on the cover of one of my signatures, and also one of the postcards. But I have this one. This is going to be a part of a signature also, where I enlarge them so that they fit on my journaling page full size. And so here is another side-by-side in the sunflower kit, and some of the ephemera pieces that she has. And I used this in a smaller version, which was 2 pages, that was printed and the size that Julie had. And then also we have these pieces here. And so this was what I was talking about here, where it's 2 pieces. And then here is for doing tags. And I have several of the postcards cut apart here, little ones, and then you also have a bigger option to it. And this sweet little girl in the sunflowers. And here we have some of the pieces that have some descriptions of the sunflowers, like this is a false sunflower. Somebody was wanting to pretend. And the 10-petaled sunflower. And then we also have this piece that was in with the postcards. So I wanted you to see, those are the pieces that I didn't use, and you're going to see a lot of pieces in here, so you realize how large the kit is. I used a old book that was 1898, and I put a varnish on it, on the spine, because the spine was just a little bit compromised. I went ahead and added this, and it says, "You are my sunshine." And the reason why I did that is when I see sunflowers, I always think of this song that Mama sang, "You are my sunshine." And so I put that on the spine. And then I used this type of material on here because I think of sunflowers and I think about those fields out in the country. And I thought that this really has a great country feel to it. The journal here, my pages are 4 3/4 by 6.5, and so you can see it is a small journal. I put an old antique button. I'm hoping that the lighting is picking this up really good for you. I do have some issues with lighting, but you can see that it had flowers in it, and put the holes here, ran the ribbon through. Then I also like to take my ties and sew them together to where they don't come apart, and then all you have to do is just squeeze this and slide it back on or pop it off. And I reinforced that button, the shank button, with a button on the other side so that it wouldn't pull through. Then in the inside cover, I have used these napkins, and this was the original sticker that was on the book. Now this material here, I had this linen napkin, and it was quite a bit taller. And so what I did when I cut it down, it's all one piece for the front and back. And when I cut it down, I then took and hand stitched the top and the side across so that I had it all the way around. It was a cream color, kind of like this color here. And so I used my watercolors and my inks to come up with a color here that I feel like matches the leaves of my napkin really well. Then with my heat gun, I scorched in around here to get some char cloth that would look good with the brown in the sunflowers. And then this is doily that has been cut apart, and this was from Sarita's Sales. She was discontinuing some of her inventory, and so I was able to get some of that, and so I put a few pieces inside the journal. It had, for me, more of a sunflower feel than a daisy, and so, but either way, it looks cool as a flower. So then here, the digital I printed on a book page, and the book page was original. It was the book pages that were in the book. I went ahead and took out the book pages because the spine had been compromised, and so I removed the book pages, but I used a lot of them back into the book. And so that's each signature has a folio, and with that folio I printed on it, and then I took the Reynolds wax and ironed it onto the Reynolds rack. So this is what it looked like originally, the color of the paper. And then after ironing it on the Reynolds, it created this waxed paper that is like a parchment feel, but it's not got that waxy feel to it when you run your hands across it. But the paper is really, really delicate when you do that. And as you can see, the paper is really delicate before I did that. And then afterwards, it was just really delicate. So I used the Heat and Bond Light and added this sheer curtain that had some of the flowers in it. And then I had this lace that I made for a pocket. And this is one of Julie's digitals, making sure I don't have it upside down, that I put the glossy accent on. And also on the pond, I have some clear fingernail polish that gives it a little bit of a shimmer because it had some glitter in it. And so that is what I did there with that part of the digital. This is some tracing paper that I copied, dyed, and Edith Holden page that I thought went really well. In here is a month of June, and then some more of the tissue paper. And then I used a dictionary page. And on the dictionary page, I wanted to add more of a yellow for the yellow part of the sunflower. And so on the page, I gessoed here with this white over the dictionary page so that you can write on it. But I wanted also for the yellow ink to come through with a brighter shade. So that's how I did that with the gesso up underneath. And some more of the tissue paper. And then this is some of the book page that is original to the book. And then some more tissue paper that I put in there. I printed on a ledger page, the digital, and then where I sewed in the signature, I did a 5-hole pamphlet stitch, and when I tied it in the middle, I just tied the knot and then put these on it for little tassels in the center of each one of the signatures. And some more of the tissue paper that I added to the book page. I wanted to leave the integrity of the book page on some of it so that you could read some of the wonderful dialogue from 1898. And we don't talk like that anymore. Here's some of this beautiful the gessoed page, and then I made this to where it flips out so you have more places to write. Then this is where I took the front of a envelope that had a large window, and I added the music paper on it and some of the napkin here around the edge, and then that really shows off Julie's Digital here, and put it on a 4x6 index card, cut it down where it would fit in the envelope, and then you can see through the window in the Edith Holden book. And I saw this little girl picture and thought, she's just the perfect colors to go here. I can see her out there playing, and I don't know, I got a wild imagination, so there you go. I can see that little girl. And then I made a little tuck spot here and have this digital piece that I got from Susan Taylor Brown. And when I made the tab, I used napkin on it, but I brought the piece on around here so that you could then flip this open and write a little secret message there about whatever it is you're writing here. And so that gives you another little hidden journaling spot. I like things to be hidden like that. I like the treasure hunt in these legacy journals. Then on the back part of the signature, I took this piece of lace, and so it's a couple of pieces of lace here that I sewed together, and then did some of my antique buttons out of my collection. And here's another piece from Susan Taylor Brown, and I added the seam binding, and then another one of those beautiful antique buttons. So yes, for me to even have those in here, you know, I had to cry a little. I don't want them to go. And then that's the back part of the folio there. So here is, I told you that I printed her, enlarged her and put her on. So I printed her there. And this is a different piece of sheer that I put on there. Took some scraps off of my table, a napkin and some of the book. I made a ruffle out of a tea bag and put some washi tape on there and tore it a little bit on the edge to give it a little bit of interest. And then this is Julie's Digital postcard, and I took a couple of pieces of the book page and then one of the plain pieces, and so you can see what I mean. This piece is then put on there, so it's got a few layers, and then has a piece of tatting that I put on the top. Tissue paper and Edith Holden. And when I take apart the Edith Holden book, and so you've got your folio, you could cut it down and fold it in half, and then you've got some really shallow pieces. And so what I did was I knew the measurement that I needed across the whole signature. So what I'm talking about here is I knew I needed from here to here, and so I want the other half of this to be back here another page. And so I have a little bit that's going to be cut off. So instead of cutting it off, I did an accordion fold so that I then have this on this side of where I sewed into the signature. And I have a pocket then that I was able to make, a little narrow pocket. Let me get this out. My fingers are a little fiddly. And so this is Julie's Digital. I had some scraps of paper here that I put together. And then I did 2 holes punched here, brought the embroidery floss through and tied a bow, and then secured it with Fabri-Tac so that it wouldn't come untied. And so that's how I made the little booklet that then goes down in here. Some more of my gessoed page and ledger. And then I had a music piece, And this was, the cover on it had this fancy edge. So I took it off. I added some of my tatting here. I did some handwriting on it and got it wet. And this was fountain pen, so it bled. And that's like a word that has been, that was bled on here. And then some of the music paper to create that tuck. And then this is Julie's digital of a postcard that I put on that 4x6 index card and attached that to the book page. And then on the other side, this is the center of the folio, and this is the piece that I was talking about, to where this is the what she had in the digital. And on the digital, she had a lot of the little flowers, and so they match. And so I mounted those onto some cardstock and put it on there with a little bit of lace underneath it, and created this then so that I could keep that book page for you to be able to look at, and use some of my onion. This is paper that I dyed using onion skin, so it's got that pretty yellow to it. And so that just tucks right up underneath there, and that's the same for the other side here, as it tucks up underneath this one. And again, tied it in the center and have those little tassels out of her digital. On the other side of this page, this is some more of the same thought process that I had. I wrote on here, got it wet, let it bleed, and then I have this. And I had gotten from, I'm not sure how you guys put up with my English. I'm not, I had gotten, well, I acquired from a dear friend some pictures, and I think that this was in some of the stuff that Susan had sent me, but I'm not positive. But I had this lace, and so I thought, well, that goes good with the flowers that are in the field with the little girls. And then Julie has a technique that she does with ribbons, and so I did that technique on here using this seam binding, and put those little girls back in there. And then some more of the ledger that I printed the digital on, some more of the dictionary, and on this piece right here, I want you to see the detail. This is napkin. This piece of paper here was much longer, and so the part that I cut off, I then sit on the top here, and I put some of the tea bag up underneath here, and then did some French knots all the way across for the flowers. And then this is just some of my cards that I had and book pages that I had, and this was out of the front of the book that I used here, and some napkin, and then the gold splatter on it, and then sewed around it with a zigzag stitch. I got really into the sewing this time with the hand sewing and all of that. And so here's a tea bag. If you're hearing any noise, Big Daddy just got in. Here is a scrap that I had. I mounted it onto a yellow piece and hand stitched that together. And so have it made it into a pocket. I did some hand embroidery on it to bring in your sunflowers. And then this is a library card that I added some scraps of paper that were here. And I said that the book was 1898. Well, it's 1880. So there, that's out of the book, 1880. This book right here. Pretty cool, huh? And that is the back of that, and the beginning of the last signature. And that's another one of the postcards that I enlarged to put on here and waxed it. Now this one I backed onto, I had a yellow hanky that was real soft yellow, and I don't know that it's going to pick up that this is a pale yellow instead of a cream color. And so I put that on there, and then took 2 pieces of lace here, did a back stitch across here, and then did little stems and French knots so that you had some flowers. And on here, where this was a scrap off of the ledger's pieces that I had, so I did a fancy cut on it, and then went with my watercolored it and faded it in. I love it when you're on the papers that you print, when you get them wet, it distorts the area that gets wet and distorts that ink, and so that's where you get that blending color here. And this is one of those Tim Holtz paper clips. I love them up, Timmy. Thank you for making those for me. And so this folds over to close it. And then the other side I brought in and made a little pocket here. And I put a little piece in here. It was compromised with a few tears, and so I just put some washi tape on the back side of it. And so I have a little pocket. And you can see how the watercolor dripped down in there. I love things like that, where look at the edge of that, where the watercolor just bleeds in. It gets me really happy. Watercolor has a mind of its own sometimes, and I just want it to run, be free. It's fabulous, watercolor is. And here's some more of my coffee and tea dyed paper. And another one of the pockets that I did where it was longer, and so I brought the piece up and then did the French knots and the tea bag ruffle on there. And then this, I had a whole bunch of, I don't know if when you sew you have it, but I know when I sew I do. Lots of frayed pieces of thread and everything, and I got a little pile over there. Well, I also had this little scrap of red that just happened to kind of match some of the red here, and I'm like, well, why not? So I took and put a button on it and sewed that button through here and did a straight stitch up around the book page, and made that card using up my scraps of thread that was laying here. Yeah, Big Mama don't throw nothing away, does she? I ain't normal. So, moving right along. I love this tissue paper, where it's tracing paper, and so here was a piece of it that I decided to turn into the traditional glassine bag. Well, it's not glassine, it's tissue paper that has been copy dyed, and so I made it into an envelope. I did a couple of little, see, now I'm going to have shadows. How's that? Is that better for you? I've got put a couple holes and then cut out a little gap there. This is a rub-on that it then just tucks into that slot that's right there. And then used a napkin and put it on there. One of Julie's stamps out of the digital. And then on the inside, part of her digital had how you sew on a pillow, sunflowers, a sunflower pillow, design number 1497C. Well, when I got it wet, you can't see it very well. So, rub-ons to the rescue. I rubbed on over that, and I rubbed on up here, got my napkin here and here. I'm good. Then on the back, the reason why I got wet is because I wanted to grunge it up here so that it would look old and you could write something really, really special on there, like, don't get your ink wet or it will fade it and you might not be happy with it. You know, you could write a whole story about why not to do that. Or you can embrace the oopsie do something special and make it sound like you did it on purpose. Thank you, whoever had invented those ribbons. Thank you very much. And so this again, what I did with the page is I didn't want to cut this off. So I did that accordion fold, made another little pocket, but this time I glued this one down because I wasn't necessarily that impressed with all of this, where the other one, I loved the flowers and did not want to cover them up. So I made a pocket there, and then I have a pocket here. But you can see it is really long, and I didn't want to make a long, narrow tag. So I've got a short one, and I put the button up on top of the short one so that it wouldn't fall the way down in there and then trying to dig it out. So the button is my stopper, and this was a book page that I had on the back side here, and it says, "So it's true then," Rachel said. My daughter's name is Rachel. I didn't tell a lie. It's true then. And there's a napkin. And we'll sit that one over to the side. This was a little strap that I had here that just happened to be long enough to glue it on there for interest. And I flipped a little bit over here to make it a tab. And we've got journaling pages. And then this spot here, I had this scrap of paper that said my book. And then I've got a little girl here that's reading. And then here I had Acme Library off of one of the cover pages, and it says Acme Library up here at the top. Well, that just all sitting there, and I'm like, well, if that doesn't say put me together, whew, I'd be derelict of my duties not to catch that one. And so added some lace and stitched that all together. And then, because remember, you are my sunshine, I did this little book here and put some music paper there and wrote, "Yep, you are my sunshine," right on there. And so made a little journaling spot for you where you could write the story about how Grandma used to rock you and sing, "You are my sunshine." It's funny that I should even talk about that, but I don't know if you guys go and watch Cheryl with ink pulp. She does art before breakfast. I promised her I would sing on my next video. Cheryl, this one's for you. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. Okay, done. Here we go. And that was my mama's song too. We sang that at her funeral. It pouring down rain. We're up underneath that tent. I mean, it come down a gully washer, and we sing "You Are My Sunshine" when skies are gray. Oh, Mama, she had a sense of humor. Even on her funeral, she decided to pour down rain. So here is a tea bag, and I promised Bonnie that I would say this is a Louisiana tea bag. And it is, and that's the type of tea, decaffeinated. And so if you get desperate, you can cut off a page and put it in a hot cup, and I'm sure there's enough tea still on here that you could have you a cup of Louisiana decaffeinated tea. There you go, Bonnie. That one's for you. And some more of the ledger page, some more of the wonderful dictionary page. I always roll my eyes on dictionary because, girls, you know I don't read no dictionary if I talk like this. Here were some scraps that I had a piece left here. I had a little remnant here, some of that, some of this. So it all got together in a happy spot on that page. And then here is Julie's digital in the smaller size. And I just put a couple of holes there and ran that through. And you may ask yourself, now why, Big Mama, did you do that? Well, I don't know if you notice. See how nice the corner is and that corner? Well, I got a little bit rambunctious, and I got me a Little itty bitty tiny one. Looks like it's sticking out its nose. Ribbon on the corner instead of the middle. Ribbon on the corner, covering that up. So whoever buys this, look for the flaws. You'll have so much fun with them. And some more ledger. And Kathleen Maurer, are you there? Kathleen, I put the paper in sideways. Did you see that? The lines are going this way. Messes with me, but she embraces it. And so I thought, for you, Kathleen, since I threw everybody else's name out there, Kathleen Maurer, is it Be Again Books? Anyway, she is phenomenal. You got to go find her. But anyway, that is my onion dyed paper that is wonky up and down, because she's smart and she does it, so I figure I might impress you guys and do it too. Last part of the signature, this was the corner of that hanky, and so I took the corner and put it here, folded it in half because I had a remnant and wanted this to be strong, so I folded the piece in half and then did a blanket stitch along here, some of my French knots up here for the flowers, and then there was a little bit of edging left from the napkin or hanky that I went and hand sewed along the edge there, so that, because you know it was bigger too, and so this brought the size down, and I used up all of that. And then here where my stitching kind of, when I put this together, was a little bit askew, so lace became my best friend on this one, and I put that on there, but it's the flowers for the sunflower. And then here, so look at that. Can you see what those corners are supposed to, all four of them are supposed to be the same size. That's what they should have been on that other one. And then this is, I printed straight on this coffee dyed, it's a 4x6 card that I printed on and then cut it down, because when I printed it, it didn't quite come out 4x6, and it wouldn't have fit in the pocket anyway if it had of. And then I inked all the way around it so that it looked like that was the size it was supposed to be. And then, can you see the gold splatters on there? Gold splatters make everything. Look, this is all messed up with that ink and everything. I'm telling you, when gold splatters make it look like it is $1 million as far as I'm concerned. There's the end of the book, and this is the last of that wonderful linen. Put some Saritas there. I put a piece of lace here, and then printed out for you, You Are My Sunshine, inked it up, so that again you can write that story of maybe how you sang it to your babies and rocked them to sleep at night, or when it was storming out, you sang that song to them to take the fear of the thunder and lightning away, and signed it down here in the bottom and put this baby to bed. That's Dear Julie, Julie's design team for January, the sunflowers. You need to go over to her Etsy shop and get, it's beautiful. You've got so many things that you can do with the pieces, and their sunflowers just make everybody smile. So I'm sure if you do a journal with sunflowers, it'll make whoever you did it, it'll make them smile. So this Big Mama telling you good night.